Free.com.
Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, a Republican challenger to Senator Jeff Flake uses this week's softball practice shooting in a campaign ad, and how this week's shooting incident renews calls for civility in politics. Those stories and more next on the Journalists Roundtable.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Jeremy Duda of the Arizona Capital-Times, Bob Christie of the Associated Press, and Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal. Senate challenger Kelli Ward sent out an attack ad on Senator Jeff Flake within hours of reports that Flake was on a D.C. area ball field where a gunman opened fire. Is this a massive case of tin ear? Was this planned? What's going on here?
It's like a massive case of a poorly timed technical glitch, according to the campaign. Now, the subject line of this email said, GOP whip Steve Scalise shot in baseball field shooting. But then you look at the body of this, it's, never Trump globalists, rushing to defend their favorite sanctuary senator and trashing Flake for campaigning with Mitt Romney. Now, the campaign says it was a mistake. The email was supposed to have, a story about the shooting of Representative Scalise and others, but there was a glitch. The anti-Flake message, that was from something that had been posted on her website a couple of weeks ago, and this, the campaign website had the Scalise headline with a proper story about the actual shooting. So they say it was just a mistake. And
well, let's go ahead and take a look at what was released here, because this was just literally hours after the shooting. The Never Trump globalists are rallying to defend one of their most prominent members, Sanctuary Senator Jeff Flake. Mitt Romney and the Flake will be traveling around Arizona this weekend trying to raise money because they can see the incredible momentum that our campaign is building. They can see the writing on the wall. People are rejecting their America Last policies, and Flake's days in the Senate are numbered.
They're numbered. I don't know how many years of numbers, or whether it's a year or another 10 years. This is a sign of a campaign run on the cheap, probably. You really need, when you're messaging, and she shouldn't be in this position. She ran against John McCain just last year. She should have a campaign structure up and running to review stuff like that, and if it was a stumble, which it sure does appear to be, avoid them, because you don't want stumbles like this in the middle of any campaign. I mean, we're a year and a half away from the election, but still, it does not show a level of professionalism that you would expect from someone who just ran a statewide U.S. Senate campaign and is in the middle of another one.
And wants to be a United States Senator.
Yeah, I mean, she's the prohibitive underdog, money-wise, polling-wise. I mean, she wasn't that close to McCain. I guess the only thing you can say is this got her a lot of attention, where, it might help her name ID and certainly highlights, Flake's opposition to Trump. But the timing of this, and we'll talk about civility, could not be any worse.
What kind of in this environment, does it help or hurt Kelli Ward? I mean, polls show that Donald Trump is the favorite among he's the best favorite Republican person in the state among Republican voters. He's number one over McCain and others. I mean, in this environment, does this hurt all that much?
Probably. I mean, at least in the context of everything that happened this week. I mean, the aftermath of the shooting was such a come-together moment for everyone. Everyone's kind of rallying around, Congressman Scalise and Senator Flake, of course, too, who that certainly couldn't help, is that he got so much good press this week, looked so heroic. He rushed over to Scalise to help him, put pressure on his wound after the shooting, took his phone out of his pocket to call his wife, let him know what happened. I mean, Flake could not have come out of this week looking better, and, Ward probably couldn't have come out looking worse based on, this erroneous email that went out.
Reaction from fellow Republicans in Arizona?
Reaction was pretty harsh. I mean, there was from consultants, from people like T.J. Shope, who's a representative from down in Casa Grande, was universally, what is going on with this? And I opened the email when I got it, and I said, oh, this is a mistake, because the body is the same body that she sent out 2 weeks ago in an attack against him when Mitt Romney was coming. So I recognized it immediately. It appeared to be a big mistake right off the bat, but it doesn't matter. Now, in her favor. We're talking about her, which we wouldn't have been talking about. And for any politician, who's trying to get some traction, we've said her name, former Arizona State Senator Kelly Ward, who wants to be U.S. Senator, a few times in the last few minutes.
Yeah, any PR is good PR, right?
But is that really?
This was certainly bad timing, and a lot of people could look at this and look at the rhetoric that's there and take it against. But I don't think we have any idea what kind of wave we're going to see in the midterm elections. Is it going to be a whole bunch of anti-Trump folks turning out, a whole bunch of Democrats turning out and flipping, one or two chambers? Is it more Trump people turning out like we saw in November and maybe surprising some folks, or is it status quo?
Yeah, in Ward's favor, if you're going to make an unforced error like this that looks that bad, at least she's doing it this far out from the election. As Bob mentions, it's so far away. The primary won't be until August of 2018. So she's got a lot of time to try to make people look past that, presuming there's no other unforced errors, which certainly there could be.
At the same time, this fundraising email came out. She did tweet. She said the shooter was politically motivated. We must start taking these threats seriously. And the violent, progressive rhetoric to resist has gone too far.
All right, well, let's move on to our next little metric here, a little rubric here. The idea that this incident, once again, as we saw with the Gabby Gifford shooting, once again has people talking about a kinder, gentler, more civil political process.
Yeah, it's toxic. I mean, it's been toxic since Bill Clinton, and it's only gotten worse. Everybody can point to social media, can point to the rhetoric that we've seen on both sides. The rhetoric from the president, who I thought came out with a pretty, conciliatory, subdued, not that political of a statement after the shooting. But you can point a lot of fingers at the media, at both political parties, at advocates on both sides, both wings of both parties. There's a lot of anger out there, and people don't have filters, and you have folks that are troubled, like this gentleman, who I can't process these things and go out and act out violently, and it's deadly sometimes.
Oh, and you had State Representative Steve Montenegro saying this is a wake-up call for the left.
Sure, and I guess to a very small number of folks like this shooter, it could be, but for the most part, I mean, the Republicans are as guilty of as the Democrats of this kind of heightened rhetoric. I mean, Kelly Ward was talking about the heightened rhetoric. She stood on a stage with Alex Jones last year. Montenegro, I'm sure he's throwing around plenty. You got folks like Ted Nugent. I mean, there's so much vitriolic rhetoric going around on all levels. I don't know that this is necessarily a wake-up call to the left, but perhaps a wake-up call to everyone. And you've got folks like Congresswoman McSally, who's kind of urging that course of action for everyone to kind of take a deep breath, turn down the temperature a little bit, and not say things that she's concerned could kind of push people, like this Hodgkinson, or whatever the guy's name, the shooter's name,
yes,
who's kind of teetering on the edge, push these people into a violent action like what we saw this week.
Bob, civility as a weakness seems to be de rigueur. I mean, is that still holding? Is that eased a little bit with something like? I mean, honestly, if you're seen as civil and you're looking for compromise, it's almost as if you're a softie. You're not strong enough. We don't want you in office.
Well, I think you're going to see a difference between what candidates say. Senator Flake did a series of interviews after this, and he says, gosh, we really need this civility. We used to go out to lunch with the Democrats, and now if we do, we get attacked. We've got to get back to that. But then when you run a campaign, boom, it's attack the other person. So you will see that dichotomy. What I think we've set up over the last decade, I mean, remember the Tea Party wave back in 2010? I mean, I covered a lot of that, and I went down to, went to these rallies, and it was vitriolic, and the left was going, what's going on? Well, they gave a game plan to the left, and now the left is saying, they're not in power, and they've taken that mantle up. How do you get back to a civil, you have to have, people think they lose elections if they're not. And I don't see that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that your political opponent is somehow evil has really taken hold.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the past, how many presidents? 4 are illegitimate to the other side, right? They come up with reasons. Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, now Trump. The other side does not think they're a legitimate leader. They don't think people that are on the other party, other camp, have legitimate ideas. And so there's no coming to the table. We see this with the lack of legislation in Congress and other places, but we also see it. Social media is magnifying this, because you have people that can comment without a filter, without anybody in the room, and say what they say, and say who they hate and why they hate them. And then you have people who are disturbed who read these things and take these things to a way different level.
The cloak of anonymity with social media and what people say and what people get away with, knowing that no one will ever hold them accountable, is, I mean, literally stunning.
Sure. I mean, there's such a gulf of difference between sitting at a table as we are now and saying something to someone's face, and then, going on Twitter with an egg avatar and some random name and just lighting someone up, saying horrible, offensive things. It's never going to go back on you. I mean, a lot of these people thrive on it.
Yeah. So, as last question on that, as a reporter, have you seen this changing over the years, and especially in terms of politics and in terms of dealing with politicians?
Yeah, no, absolutely. In terms of politics, in terms of going to rallies, I mean, like I said, I've been covering politics for 25 years now, off and on. And back in the Tea Party year, back in 2010, people were not wanting to talk to reporters. They were yelling at me outside of rallies. I'd go down to I'd go to a Republican rally where they were trying to, and they would be angry because I was the bad media. And then that's just gotten worse over the last 6 or 7 years. It's really becoming difficult. And we saw it, in President Trump's election campaign where, I covered his rallies and he talked for 40 minutes and 10 of it was, those guys back there are evil, mean, and people came to us. Now, we try to stay above that as reporters, and we completely ignore it and try to explain to people, we just want to tell your side of the story. That's why we're here. Go ahead.
So one thing that I really noticed covering politics for the past 9 years or so, is that Democrats and Republicans, I get the impression they really don't understand what the other believes. I mean, at some level they do, but they don't really understand what motivates their beliefs and their actions. They think, you want to control everyone through the government, or you just want to spend everyone's money. You're evil for this, you're evil for that. There's really no context for why people believe what they believe, and so they're so quick to attribute the absolute worst motives to the people on the other side.
I think the prism is a lot of times race or gender or culture, certain parts of the country, certain ethnic groups, and so that magnifies the kind of hatred that's out there. And so I think, maybe it would be helpful if less politicians maybe got on the Twitter and took that. But I think Bob's absolutely right. The Tea Party had this success. We in the media covered these types of things. We like negative ads. We talked about Kelly Ward today. We cover the negative. We cover the inflammatory because it's interesting, because it catches people's eyeballs, because it catches clicks. And so the left has replicated this with the Occupy Wall Street, folks on the progressive wing that are very anti-Republican. They're farther and farther away, the two parties.
Yeah, and just to excuse the media on this, you don't cover every plane that lands safely at Sky Harbor. You find the one that didn't, and that becomes the story. So that's why when a Kelly Ward has such unfortunate timing as far as an email is concerned, that's news. And but the problem in this day and age is a lot of people don't see the problem with what she did.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it's designed, that was designed as an attack ad originally. And I mean, you read it, we saw it. I mean, it just was 2 weeks ago's attack ad, but it still fits the mold. How can you run a civil campaign without denigrating someone while talking about policy?
Well, and
that's what we're missing.
And really interesting on this because Martha McSally down in Congressional District 2, there was a secretly taped meeting with Arizona Bankers Association, and McSally basically said, because of the environment out there, not necessarily uncivil, although I think this was inferred here, she doesn't think Republicans have a chance in this pro-Trump, anti-Trump environment. What's going on with this?
Well, she is certainly worried that kind of a sinking tide is, bringing all ships down with it, and that she is certainly one of them. I mean, she's in one of the most competitive congressional districts, possibly in the country. And, her district went for Clinton by about 4 points or so. And she's staring at November 2018 saying, if this election were held right now, I wouldn't win. These are the kinds of districts the Democrats are targeting because they see folks like McSally who are kind of teetering on the edge there. vulnerable and trying to take advantage of a lot of kind of rising anti-Trump sentiment.
But it's interesting. She said that it doesn't matter what I've done. I have an R next to my name. I would lose today.
Yeah, I think she said that he was, the twin sister of Donald Trump, I think was one of her comments. And that is a concern among Republicans, especially folks in the establishment that have been there for a while. What they're going through with this president, what they've seen with this president, they haven't dealt with before. And so nobody knows what's going to happen. And they like to know the tea leaves and know what their odds are. And if things continue to go bad for him or get worse for him, you could see big Democratic turnout. But we don't know about turnout, though, because the polling was so off last time, turnout was off last time, and so all these dire predictions and whatever you would think is going to happen, we're not sure. Things could change, but there could be a wave of Democrats, of anti-Trump folks that come out. And maybe some Republicans that don't like Trump may vote for Democrats because they want to check on his power, or someone that could potentially impeach him if they think he's gone too far.
Conversely, you could have folks who think the media, beaten up on Donald Trump, beaten up on Republicans. It's time to get off the duff and go out there and vote.
That's true. Now, there has been a steady series of news stories out of Washington and across the country about the missteps of our new president. All the things that are happening with him, his tweeting, the Russia thing, and the president himself feels under attack by the media. His supporters are solidly behind him still. Where we are as a country, though, is that there's the one big policy that's been done is the House passing the repeal of the Affordable Care Act at this point, which is polling at 30% positive nationally.
And it's going nowhere in the Senate.
Yeah. And if Martha McSally thinks she may lose right now because of Donald Trump, no. It's probably because of her rallying of the House vote on the Affordable Care Act.
Sure, and McSally, in addition to what she said would be true for any Republican in a competitive district right now, but it's going to be doubly true for her because she has been so close with at least that part of Trump's agenda with the American Health Care Act. She was a very key vote on that. Donald Trump called her out and praised her for it personally in a press event. She had a very memorable quote that we can't repeat on the air about going out to vote for this thing. So she's very, very much tied to this piece of legislation, which is tremendously unpopular right now. And that, even if she'd voted against that, she would probably be in some trouble right now. But given how unpopular it is, that's got to hurt.
You think David Schweikert is in trouble because he sent out a message saying that there were, determined to incite violence, these groups that were against him, Indivisible and some of these other groups, and they were inciting violence, lighting cars on fire, using women, children, and families. They could do all of these things to mass confusion, which is his term for this. And he was ridiculed, and he was called an alarmist, and people made fun of him. And days later, we had the shooting in the ball field outside Washington. I mean, what does that do to a Schweikert campaign and for those who are looking to unseat a David Schweikert?
Well, that district's pretty safe usually, right?
Yes.
Pretty Republican up there in Scottsdale, Fountain Hills. There was some truth to what he said. There's truth on both sides to what he said. And I think we're so far away. I mean, the news cycles with this president and what's been going on with him and his rivals in Washington, we have 1 million leaks, 1 million off-the-record Washington Post stories to come out. And I think there's a point to be made. How much do folks, the voters, believe us in the media right now? Not only folks back in Washington and New York, but folks here covering things. And are they going to still turn out? Are those folks that voted for Trump that put him in there that will help him win Arizona and win those Rust Belt states, are they going to turn out in the midterm election? But that's been a challenge for Democrats too. They don't do well in midterm elections. So are they going to be able to turn people out? Now Trump, being against Trump may energize them. So, and there's a lot of ways to go.
But again, the reaction to what Schweikert said, when some of these folks and some of these groups were pointing out that they're mostly grandmas out there with clipboards and just trying to get people registered to vote. A couple of days later, there comes the shooting. So it's is there a balance there?
I think that his pronouncements that he was being attacked in Scottsdale and the people were threatening him was over the top. I don't think it has anything to do with the truth on the ground in his district. That said, it is a broader picture of what he believes is happening in the United States. What happened at the ball field in Alexandria, Virginia on Wednesday is solidifies that as
Yeah.
a potential.
And we should mention that he got extraordinarily troubling notes about his child. I mean, just, again, the cloak of anonymity is just the bane of
Yeah, the level of personal attacks, and this
just
is on both sides. This is
unbelievable.
against Barack Obama. This is against Republican lawmakers, against their families, against their spouses. Being anonymous on Twitter, especially, people have no filter on there.
All right, let's talk about business leaders who came out, some business leaders come out. Prop 301, which is the education tax here, passed in 2000, expiring in 2021. There was talk at the legislative session the last time around. Maybe it's time to extend that tax, maybe expand it more than 0.6%. Business leaders say up to 1.5% increase. What's going on here?
Yeah, that's quite a jump. And we'd already heard some people agitating for, bring it up to a full set. But 1.5, that is a huge jump. And this is coming from Reginald Ballantyne, who a businessman and former chairman of the State Board of Education, Phil Francis, former CEO of PetSmart, and a few others. And they want, 1.5%. When this thing expires, it'll bring in a lot of new money. And interestingly enough, they have all this new money earmarked specifically for priorities of Governor Doug Ducey, except for one very important priority of his: no higher taxes.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is this floating at the governor's office?
It is dead on arrival at the governor's office. The governor has said, I won't increase taxes. He says he wants a new and improved, a modernized Prop 301, which is a 0.6%. But in the next breath, he says, but no new taxes. So this is not going to be received well. It's not been received well. It won't be endorsed by the governor. That means it won't get through the legislature. There's no way the legislature is going to refer it to the ballot, which is what this would take, because the legislature has the ability to raise taxes, and they haven't for 22 decades.
So what, are we waving at windmills here? What are the business leaders doing here? Just making a statement?
If you talk to business folks, they're pretty unanimous. I mean, the establishment kind of Chamber of Commerce business guys, the ones that want to, the big companies, they see how little we spend on classrooms, how much little teachers get paid, and they see that as an economic development issue, because we're competing with Utah and California and Texas and Colorado. We're trying to bring in these high wage jobs, and that's a blemish. We've kind of put immigration and SB 1068, whatever it was, behind us, and so they see this as important. Now, maybe this is art of the deal type thing. We talk about Trump a lot. We'll go for 1.5. Well, you'll meet us halfway. We'll go for a penny, and we still get an increase there. Maybe they go to an initiative. I mean, they got the money to do it if they want.
Well, if the legislature won't refer, they're going to have to.
Oh, and these folks know that there's absolutely zero chance of this getting through the legislature. Even if the votes were there, Governor Ducey, I'm sure, would be lobbying pretty furiously for it. These folks wrote an op-ed in the Republic, laying out in a lot of detail their plans. They talked about needing to raise $2 million to get this thing on the ballot for 2018, and that's where things could get pretty interesting, because Doug Ducey's on the ballot in 2018. This would, this would potentially put him in a tough situation. There's pretty much a consensus down at the Capitol that Prop 301 will have to get renewed. That 0.6% tax, that's just way too much money for anyone's willing to see education lose. But if this goes on the ballot in 2018, is the legislature compelled to put their own competing measure on? How does Governor Ducey handle it?
Well, and they better make a decision, because it's got to go on either 2018 or 2020, or the train leaves the station.
I suspect the governor doesn't want it on in 2018. He's hemmed and hawed, and he has not answered that question. That said, he right after he came into office, he created this Classrooms First Initiative Council, which was business folks and education folks, which spent a year and a half coming up with a plan to change the funding of our education system and re-inject money into it and come up with ways to do that. They came out in January and said, yes, we need to do those two things without any recommendations, except the head of it, the guy who ran it, said, we need $600 million to bring teacher salaries up to speed. We need $600 million to bring classroom instruction materials and buildings back up to it. And guess what? $1 billion extra is exactly what is needed. So these are folks who Governor Ducey appointed for that council, who came out, who said, essentially, this is the amount of money we need. The governor's, this proposal fits what those folks said they needed. You
have some very unlikely allies in this. You have the business folks with Diane Douglas pushing for more. Ducey, may be against it. Teachers unions can glom onto this. Now, the business folks always push for this, but they never want to tax themselves. They want to tax consumers, right? They like the sales taxes. They'll keep those income taxes, cuts that they got. But this is a big issue for the business community. And I know that the governor doesn't want to raise taxes, but us being at the bottom in a lot of education spending and attainment things is a threat to him also, for re-election, but also if he wants to run for something else going forward.
Well, the organizers of this, as I mentioned, they presented this as really just expanding on the governor's vision, kind of giving him the help that he can't give himself because he's committed to not raising taxes and committed to lowering taxes. So really, they're just trying to help Governor Ducey. I don't think it's very appreciated by the governor,
I was gonna say.
They're at least presenting this as just trying to build on what he's trying to do.
Ninth floor is saying, stop helping me, in other words.
The ninth floor said there will not be higher taxes.
Yes. All right. Good stuff, guys. Thanks for joining us. Monday on Arizona Horizon, the Trump administration decides to continue DACA, the program that protects young undocumented immigrants, and we'll have an overview of how the president continues to bump up against the U.S. Constitution. Those stories on the next Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, a new cancer drug is proving to be remarkably effective in destroying tumors. Wednesday, hear from ASU's national champion women's golf team. Thursday, a look at Title IX and its impact on school sports. And Friday, it is another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
The Foodie Phenomenon returns with all new episodes.
I'm expecting the unexpected.
So bring your skills, because they don't relent.
They are fairly uniformly bad.
In the tent.
That tastes unbelievable.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
See this flower garden? There used to be a car sitting there, a car I didn't use and didn't want. So I donated it to public television, and they took care of everything. In addition to supporting my favorite programs, I earned a tax deduction. Turn something you don't need into something you really want. Contact the Vehicle Donation Program.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
Your favorite PBS shows, ready to watch when you are. Anytime, any place. Find more ways to explore than ever before.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
Tales from the Silk Road as Tang Dynasty China goes global.
You could say it's the beginning of universal history.
When the world came to China and changed their civilization forever.
Tuesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
We created chaos. We abandoned that chaos. We created ISIS.
Zarqawi can direct his network in the Middle East and beyond.
Zarqawi was ours for the taking.
We weren't doing anything about it. Zarqawi achieved what he wanted to achieve.
Tuesday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
A heartfelt thank you to all who pledged their support during our recent membership drive.